Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'll be doing something different. I'll be reviewing these products from Arrtx which were sent to me for me to try them out and test them out. So these are Arrtx brand new watercolors, and they also sent me a sketchbook. So this is the first time I'll be doing a review video here on my YouTube channel. So I'll be unboxing these colors with you. So this is the box in which it came. This is from Arrtx. It's a 24 color watercolor set, and it says that they are transparent watercolors, very saturated and bright colors. And for my style of painting, which is realism, I need to work with transparent colors because I work with many layers. So I'm very excited to try these colors. All right, so it comes in this very beautiful pink color box, a very sturdy cardboard box, and I'm just going to open it. Before opening, let's see the information which is given behind. So most of the colors I observed, they have very high light fast ratings. Light fast rating means these colors will not fade for many years, and most of the colors they have above 3 and 4, almost 3 and 4 light fast ratings. And the second thing is most of the colors are transparent, others are semi transparent, and the one color which is lamp black is opaque. So most of the colors are transparent. So again, uh, I'm very excited to use them. Right, so a nice thank you card from them, and it comes with this swatch chart, okay, which shows all the information again. And they are nice big pans, I think full pans, and they look very bright. And mostly I paint flowers, so they have all these very bright colors. Okay, and all these information about the colors is given here, but of course I will be swatching them out on a separate piece of paper, because whenever I get any new colors, I love to try them out. Right, so these are the colors, and one thing I noticed that it comes with all these labels, so which I've not seen in any watercolor set before. So again, that is a plus point. Okay, the box is quite sturdy, so you don't need to transfer them into any other pans, and it's quite compact also. So if you are a plein air artist, then you can even travel with that. So apart from the watercolors, they also sent me this hot pressed A5 size watercolor sketchbook. It's 100% cotton, and it says that it's very good for color lifting, and it's highly absorbent, and it's a 140 pounds 300 GSM hot pressed watercolor paper. So literally this checks all my check boxes for a sketchbook. It's a hardcover sketchbook, looks very sturdy with this beautiful motif on the cover page and a nice shimmery back page. So far it looks very good. Let's open it. So this is I think the cover page. It's not a watercolor paper, the first paper. But this is a nice sturdy 300 GSM paper, very thick, and it also comes with these perforations. That means if you do a very good painting, you like it, you can just flick it off the book and maybe frame it or gift it to your friends. So The paper is really good. It's little bit textured, which I actually like. It's got a little bit of tooth to it, not textured, but very fine tooth to the paper. So I enjoy this kind of texture on a hot pressed paper. I don't like too much of smooth paper. So let's try it up. And the sketchbook also stays quite flat. So before we start painting in the sketchbook, I always like to try out the colors, experiment with them in my sketchbook. So here I have taken a watercolor paper and I'm just going to swatch them out. So just for me to get a feel of how they are. So I have my brush and my water, everything ready. So the first test I'll be doing is how much pigmented these colors are. So the moment I touch the wet brush to the paper, it should immediately, get activated. And look at this. I mean, it's so bright. I didn't had to literally rigorously brush over the pan. So the color is really pigmented. You just need to touch your wet brush to the paints and you get a lot of pigment on the paper. Okay, so that's a nice sign, a thumbs up sign from me. So let's try out another color. So this is cadmium yellow, again a beautiful yellow. This is Indian yellow, a warm yellow. So we have cool yellow, a warm yellow, and a color in between. So again, a good choice of color. Then we have a cadmium orange. Then this is a red, a deeper red, and this is crimson. So as you can see, all these colors are very pigmented, very bright, especially this red violet and even the violet, even the reds. So pigment wise, they are very bright and quite saturated as it's mentioned on the box. The blues are also very vibrant. This olive green also is a very useful color. We have this burnt sienna, raw umber. So if you're a landscape artist, you can use these colors. We have burnt umber and then Payne's gray, and then we have lamp black as well. So the best way to judge these colors and the sketchbook is to paint in it. So here I have my sketchbook. I've already drawn a tulip. This is going to be a red tulip. This box doesn't come with any palette, so I have my palette and my water and my brushes over here. So for this flower, I'll be using all the reds and the oranges. And since we don't have a darker red, I'll be mixing red with some blues and a little bit of maybe Payne's gray or lamp black, or even maybe a little bit of green. Okay, so if you have primaries and your split primary colors in your box, then mixing colors is becomes very easy. So here I'm going to mix a little bit of cadmium orange for the highlights of the flower, and just test it out on the side. Okay, for the very light pale highlights, I'm going to use uh, cadmium red pale. So this is going to be a sort of a mini tutorial. I have of course sped up the footage because already it's a very long video. It will not be a full-fledged tutorial, but you will see that how I painted this tulip and how these watercolors are reacting in this particular sketchbook. So if you're interested, then stick to the end, and I'll also show you one more painting that I painted in this sketchbook in the end. So for our main red color, I'll be using crimson. It's a nice bright color, isn't it? And to mix our shadow color, I'll be taking crimson. Along with this, I'll be using some sort of blue. So I think I'll use a little bit of Prussian blue. I tried red violet first, but it's not giving me that dark. So I'll be using Prussian blue to make it more dark. I'll also add some cadmium red deep. Okay, and if it becomes too purpley, then I just add a little bit of Indian yellow to balance it out. So I really want this color to be dark, so I'm adding the same colors with more saturation. So I keep on adjusting these three colors till I get the color which I want. So red, blue and yellow, three primaries to get our deep shadow color, more of red and blue. I'll also be keeping some cadmium red deep on the side, and to this I'll add a little bit of lamp black to make it the most darkest shadow color. Normally I don't use lamp black, but this is the only darkest color on this box, so why not? Right, so first I will be starting with the flower. So I always like to go with a wet on wet technique with my first layers, so this will be a real test to this sketchbook. So I apply a glaze of clean water to the center petal, and I'll see how the paint is going to react. So the paper, as it says, is highly absorbent. The water doesn't stay on the paper, which is good. And then I take this light color, which is cadmium red pale, for all the highlights, and as you can see, it spreads really nicely. So I use my sketchbooks to practice my watercolor techniques, sometimes for my tutorials, but mostly just to keep in touch with my watercolor skills. So I really need a good watercolors to practice all my usual techniques which I do on a fair paper. And here with a clean damp brush, you can see that I'm lifting off the brightest highlights, and I'm easily able to do this. So you will be seeing a lot of lifting in my style of painting. If you've already watched watercolor videos on this channel, then you know. So lifting is a very integral part of my painting process. So if the sketchbook allows that, then it becomes really, really very helpful for me. So far so good for the sketchbook, and similarly I'll be working on the remaining part of the petals with the same color. I'll be freezing off all the highlight colors before I come in with the very bright red, so that way I am saving all the highlights. I'm also going to use a little bit of orange where I can see orange in the highlight region. So the color spreads really nicely. It doesn't bleed through my outlines, through the outlines of that petal, because I have seen sketchbooks which do that. So the paper looks a little bit of textured, but it's got a fine tooth to it. And as I mentioned, I enjoy that kind of paper. I usually work on Arrtx watercolor paper, and even Arrtx has a little bit of tooth to it. So, in anyways, if for a sketchbook, of course, we cannot compare it with the finest watercolor paper which is available. After all, it is used for mostly practicing techniques. But for me, I also do full-fledged paintings in my sketchbook. Sometimes I also use colored pencils on top of watercolors. So that is why I love using hot pressed watercolor sketchbooks, because colored pencils work more better on hot pressed paper than cold pressed paper because of the texture. So this sketchbook, satisfies both of my mediums, which is watercolors and colored pencils. So I'm not saying that you cannot do any fair drawings or paintings in this sketchbook. I'm saying that I use my sketchbook basically to practice my skills, and even for those, I require a very good quality of paper. And when you're just practicing, you don't want to use your very expensive, fair sheet of papers. So, and sketchbooks, like, it just takes away a lot of pressure of not wasting the paper and all, because end of the day, it's your very personal thing. So i I feel the pressure is taken away when I practice and make mistakes in my sketchbook rather than in my fair sheet of paper. Especially if I'm working and preparing for a tutorial, I always like to work on in my sketchbook first to get my color mixes right and my techniques right before I come under the camera and prepare a tutorial. Right. So now my highlights are all done. So now I again go in with a clean glaze of water. I let the first layer dry completely. So now again I'll be applying water on that first layer, dried first layer, and we'll start giving all these red tones. So I take this crimson red and I start where it is the darkest, and the color spreads so beautifully. It just doesn't stay in one place, and which is what we want whenever we are working with wet on wet technique. And the color also is looking very, very bright. And then I take this shadow color and start applying in all the shadowy regions. So to try out these sketchbooks, I'll be using all my techniques that I generally use in my fair sheet of paper, which is wet on wet, and working with many layers, with dry brushing, with wet on dry, lifting, all these techniques. So all these in all these areas, the sketchbook has to come to its full potential. Right. And I'm just lifting off where the green color is coming, and I'm also lifting off some of the highlights on the petal. So lifting wise also the sketchbook is really good, and colors wise they are really looking vibrant. Right. So I keep on lifting the color where I don't want, where especially I can see green. So the colors are not bleeding, as you can see, it's leaving a very nice clean edge. So I'll do the same thing on this right petal, leaving the center one because the left petal is still wet and I don't want to risk the colors bleeding into the center petal. Right, so again I give a clean water glaze, and then I start with this vibrant red color, leaving that highlight which we had done in our first layer. And again I take this shadow color, and then with a clean damp brush I just start lifting off the colors where I don't want, especially in the green areas and even in the highlights. Also creating a little bit of texture with a clean damp brush. So now, while these two petals are drying, I'll just finish those smaller petals which are from peeking from behind. So I directly work with wet on dry now because they are very tiny, and so I apply color first, and then with a clean damp brush I just soften the colors that I have applied. Same thing on this side, being very careful where I'm touching the petal which we have already painted. Okay, so now we have to let all the petals dry completely before we come in and start working on the center one. And here I'm working with my eradicator brush to just clean off the edges. Again, for the center petal, I'll be applying a glaze of clean water to the entire petal, including the green areas. Apply your water as if you're applying paint well within the pencil boundaries, and then I start applying this red wherever I see it, the darkest and the brightest on the reference picture, leaving some areas in between which are lighter in color. Colors are spreading very nicely. So I'm taking more of crimson and then just taking a little bit of orange for these very orangey areas, and then just lifting off the areas with a clean damp brush where I don't want any color. And then lifting off the color, especially where it is touching the green areas. So since the glaze is still a little bit of wet, I apply more color. I take that opportunity to just paint in more color. So it's also, the paper is also, able to keep the water for a longer time. And since it's a 300 GSM paper, a very thick paper, you can see that the paper is not buckling with so many layers of water and colors. So since the glaze is still a little wet, I'll also come in with this shadow color, very dark color here on the edge of the petal. And now the color is not spreading that much, which is good for us because otherwise we'll lose that bright red color. And I again take that crimson to apply next to the shadow color, and then I take a little bit of this shadow color wherever I see it dark on the center of the flower. Applying more red. And then lifting off near where it's touching the green areas. So now while these red areas are drying, what we'll do is we'll start giving the first layer to the green part. So I'll take my second palette. I need those red colors, so I'm going to take my second palette for mixing all the greens. Right, so what colors are we going to use? The only green which I feel is useful is this olive green. But as I told you, I always like to mix my greens. So what I'll do is I'll use this olive green as a base and then add yellows and blues and reds accordingly wherever I see them, lighter or brighter or darker. So first I'll take this lemon yellow, mix it with this olive green, and I'll add a little bit of phthalo blue to make it a little brighter. So this will be for our stem, more of lemon yellow, and let's test it out over here. Okay, so this will be for the stem, which will be the lighter color. Now for the shadow color, I will take same olive green plus phthalo blue, and to this I will add Indian yellow to make it more warmer, earthier. You can even add a little bit of crimson, the same color that we used for the flower, to make it more earthy, more olivey, and also more dark because they are complementary colors. So it will give you a really nice shadow color. Okay, so this will be our shadow color for the stem. So now for the dark green leaves, I will start with again phthalo blue. To this I will add Indian yellow to get a nice bright green, and I also add a little bit of crimson to get a very dark color. More of blue. I keep on adjusting these three colors to get a deep green. And now for this very bright green, I'll be using lemon yellow. To this I will add a little bit of, actually I took Indian yellow and phthalo blue, same colors, okay, but in different proportions to suit the colors that we require, that we see in the reference picture. So I'll start now painting with wet on wet technique as my first layer on the stem. So before starting the stem, what we'll do is we'll finish off the bottom part of this flower. So again, I'm taking this very olivey green color and just giving a first layer to the green part of the petals, lifting off wherever it is light. And this is just the first layer. I'll be coming in and giving more and more layers to get the saturation I require. And as for any red flowers, you always need to come and work with more layers because red color is like that. So this is just the first layer. And now after finishing the tulip, I'll just start with the stem. I'm just giving a clean water glaze to the entire stem. Then I start with this first color mix that we had made, leaving the right part of the stem without any paint because that is the highlight. And then I take this shadow color for the bottom part of the stem. Just taking just lemon yellow on its own to give it a little brighter color, and I also use that brighter green. And again I will come in with more layers to finish off the stem with more saturation and with more finish. It's just lifting off all the highlights. For the first layer, my main focus is on applying the colors wherever I see, but also, retaining the highlights. I'm not bothered much about the shadow color because in watercolors it's very easy to, make the colors more darker, the painting more darker rather than, making it lighter. And now for this part of the leaf, it's it's more of a gray green, so I used a little bit of Payne's gray and lamp black to make this green, and a little bit of that darker green for the shadow area. Similarly, I'll start working on the left leaf. So for that, I'm going to give a clean water glaze to the entire leaf. For bigger areas, I use size 6 brush, and for smaller areas like stem and smaller petals, I use size 4 brush. And I start with the darker green, leaving enough light in the areas where it is lighter. I keep on adjusting my mixes according to the colors that I see in the reference picture. So when I'm practicing in my sketchbook, especially for an upcoming tutorial, uh, my idea is to get my color mixes right and gain confidence, because most of the paintings or drawings that I do, I have done them for the first time. So before I uh, start painting under the camera, I like to be prepared. I like to be familiar with that particular picture. So I always practice that particular painting or drawing first in my sketchbook or in a, separately. And not necessary that all my paintings in my sketchbook they become tutorials. Sometimes it is just for the fun of it, or to try out new subjects, or just to keep myself busy. And uh, as an artist, like we always need to keep on practicing our skills, because that's what we have to do, right? And it just gives me more confidence whenever I start preparing for a tutorial. So if the reference image, if the painting becomes a little bit familiar, then my strokes also they become more confident when I'm painting under the camera. So I'm not looking out for a very perfect painting here in a sketchbook, but rather, what colors I will be using, and whether I will be able to paint this in the way I want. Uh, all those things. Sketchbook for me is more of a fun and a no pressure zone. So on weekends, I just remove my sketchbook and paint or draw in those. I'm also into portraits recently, though I don't share them on any social media, because sketchbooks are a very private kind of safe zone for me. Though I have posted a lot of sketchbook paintings on and drawing posts on small reels on my Instagram, which I do more for fun. Right. So now I bring out my red palette again, and now for the second layer I'll be working more with wet on dry, because now my aim is to get the saturation in place. Okay, get the shadows in its place, make it as dark and bright as the reference picture. So with the wet on dry you can get this instantly, because if you use your with again the wet on wet technique, then again the colors will become lighter after drying, and we don't want so many layers. So To get the saturation going, I always like to work with wet on dry, and then later on with dry brushing to get it, get all the details and all the saturation in place. And since I am a realistic painter, I love to paint in whatever details I see in the reference picture. I like to make my paintings look almost like the photograph. Some people may not like, so much of details in their paintings, but it's up to them. So all those things are possible only with, multiple layers. So try to use a paper which is at least 300 GSM thick, because with so many layers you really need a thick paper. So after working on the left petal, I start working in the same way on the remaining part of the petals of the flower. And in the second layer, I work more on the veins and all the texture that I see on the petal. So I've also made a little bit of green to deepen the green areas of this flower. The colors are super vibrant and very pigmented, because you just see how I just touch the wet brush and it really brings out a lot of color on the brush. So the pan sizes are also quite large. It's a full pan size, so I think the colors are really going to last for a very long time. So I think it's value for money. This box will cost $25.99 on Amazon.com, and for that value I feel that it's quite economical. So now I just fast forwarded it. I gave in more and more layers to get the saturation right on my flower, and now I'm starting to work on the leaf in the same way. I work with wet on dry and a lot of dry brushing, and as I mentioned before, with red paints, you need to give more layers compared to other colors, because red tends to become more lighter when it dries. So I'm giving a little bit of dashes and some texture to the leaf, just to imitate what I see in the reference picture. Similarly, I work on the stem. So when I'm working with wet on dry, I apply the color first, and then with a clean damp brush I just soften the color that has been applied, so that your application looks very soft. At no point your colors should look your colors should not have any hard line edges. They should all look very seamless and very soft looking, very smooth and blended looking. So I fast forwarded this video because as I told you, otherwise it'll become very long, and I want to show you in the end I want to share with you what are my thoughts about this sketchbook and the colors. So as you can see, I went in with more layers because I really wanted to test this paper to its full potential, and give as many layers and as many details as possible. Push this paper to bring out its best, and still the paper has not buckled with so many layers. Normally I like to work on a stretched paper, but yeah, so here is the final result and my final review of this product. These products are that the colors are super bright, very pigmented, and uh, yeah, and since they are light fast, you can even use them for your fair work. Since I've used them on a sketchbook doesn't mean that they are just meant for sketchbooks and rough work, but you can use them on fair papers, and I think it will be a really good buy for artists who are beginning in watercolors, and yet they want to see really good results. Because especially if you're a beginner artist, don't invest in student watercolors. Okay, go for really good artist grade watercolors, and I think Arrtx fits the bill. They are not very expensive, they are economical, and yet they are so super bright, and all those things that I've mentioned in the video. uh, the sketchbook, as I have mentioned throughout the video how much I liked it, and I also painted this pansy because I really loved the violet color on this box, and I just wanted to paint a flower with those colors in it. So I also painted this pansy on the first page of my sketchbook, and was super happy with both the products. So, a Prime Day sale is coming on Amazon.com, and I hope you take maximum advantage of this sale. So, the Amazon Prime Day sale starts from 23rd to 26th June, and in the US and Canada shops, they are up to 20% off. I'll leave the links to both these products in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed watching this review of these Arrtx products, and I hope you give them a try. And if you like such videos or any of my tutorial preview videos, then kindly like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in the next video then. Bye bye.